Hello and welcome to the podcast that takes you on a journey to answer those deep and cosmic conundrums. I am Space Chadman, formerly been changed, and here is me with my wonderful co-host.
BJ 6.9.
Thank you very much. And for everyone out there, if you have any questions that you think about on a daily basis, please leave us a comment or send us a message and we might talk about it in our next very podcast. But for today, a wonderful question that's been burning our minds. AI, is it the next step? Or is it a deadly problem?
Deadly problem.
Deadly problem. Something we'll have to figure out because we've installed an AI into our little ship for today. So, you ready to fly?
I am always ready to fly high in the sky with some pie, FYI Wi-Fi.
Alright then, let's blast off. You ready?
I am. Alright, ready?
Let's go. Boom.
Nearly swallowed my tongue then.
As you can see real quick, I've installed a lovely AI into our little ship here.
What's it do? What's its name?
What's its name? It's your younger son's. It's BJ 6.8.
Oh no. I thought we got rid of 6.8.
We uploaded him to the computer. I'm sorry.
Oh, but he knows he knows all my inner secrets.
Well, we had Space Man, but we abandoned him long ago, so...
All my dark secrets.
Have you actually had a look into AI and the things that it can do or create?
So I haven't done an extensive bit of research for this week, but I have found one article that I would like to talk about. It's sort of the major problems associated with artificial intelligence, and I just want to sort of go through this sort of article and talk about how whether or not we've actually experienced the problems that it projects, because I think this was written about maybe 4 or 5 years ago, because some of the projections made are for 2022. And
I think it's a very that's a harsh thing to immediately put down, because I think AI can be an amazing thing, but I feel like everyone's also the fact very scared about it.
Yeah,
Because I
you
think
go.
we already have virtual intelligence, which is the idea of you give something a question and it has a predetermined set of answers, or it can work out from a set list, while an AI can sort of change and make those decisions for itself.
Yeah, an AI can sort of learn and adapt.
Yeah, it's giving something else the power to have that sort of will or responsibility to make those changes.
Yeah,
Is always scary because, I mean, not every human's perfect, therefore not every AI is going to be perfect.
that is true, but I also think the major difference, like a lot of the problems that I've been reading about, a lot of everyone fears the pretty much the iRobot, or all those sci-fi movie things where what if the AI figures out that it knows better and decides to destroy us all, and everything I've sort of been reading, whilst that might be a problem someday, at the moment AI is so rudimentary and so it survives within the people who program it, so there's never really that possibility of it learning too much or developing consciousness, because it can only really experience the world to the extent that the people who programmed it to be able to.
Yeah, well, that's what I would refer to as a VI, a virtual intelligence, because it's only been it's only oh, you can only do this because of this. You can only answer this question this way because of how we've told you to.
So what would the difference between VI and AI be, Mr. Chadman?
Well, it's the fact of if you were to ask a VI of what's the weather today? It would be the satellite readings are, it's cloudy with a chance of rain, sort of thing, right?
So a VI would be like going, "Hey Google," and it would be
that's
today's
legit.
weather
Just being
forecast.
Google, what is this question? Well, an AI, you could be hey, what's the weather today? It's I'm not actually quite sure. I haven't had a look outside yet. Want to come have a look with me? That sort of thing, and they just look outside. Well, from what I can see here and the participation from over there, I can make these assumptions. But honestly, from what this information gives me as well, is that this is probably what it's going to be instead.
Well, in your opinion, then, should we be worried about AI?
Considering that we've already installed your previous I guess son into this ship, and you've already panicked, and he hasn't said much of a word, maybe.
Well, that's only because I know my son's a malicious little demon, and And like we're talking hypotheticals right now. We're space people from a galaxy
Mm.
far, far away. Happy May 4th, everybody, for the other day, although this
Oh yes,
podcast comes out
yes.
2 weeks from now, so it won't matter.
Oh well.
But anyway, happy May 4th for that. And yeah, I just don't think our spaceship properly encompasses the human problems. So do you think that an actual living AI or a potentially problematic AI already lives within this Earth that we're currently viewing through our spyglass?
Oh, maybe.
Hmm?
I want to say maybe in the fact that it possibly is somewhere, but very limited into what it can actually do.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that you can still ask it questions and it has its own sort of personality, but limited in the fact that it can't just access the internet or access anything, and it's just like sitting in like a little box and can only do so limited things, which is respond to what it thinks.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think the sort of scariest one that I can sort of off the top of my head that I think a couple of articles brought up was the thing that Facebook or Meta picked
The
up, I
metaverse.
think either early this year or late last year, which was an algorithm or a computer program that was supposed to be taking down data or something, started talking in a language that only other programs that it was talking to could understand. And that
Oh,
frightened them so much that they shut down the program because it started developing its own language that the developers themselves couldn't decipher.
oh, that is kind of spooky. That is really spooky.
What are your favorite
Ooh.
robot movies, Machu?
Oh, favorite. Is it called Real Steel?
Real Steel?
The one that has Hugh Jackman in it.
I loved that movie. I can't find it on anything like on Netflix or anything to watch it again, but fuck, I loved it.
Yeah, yeah. I really like that movie. We had it like as a DVD back
Hmm.
from like Civic Video when that was a thing.
Civic Video.
I'm waiting for a real hard throwback on that. What about you? What robots do you like then?
I really like. Well, I like the movie Robots.
Hmm.
The I don't know if it's Pixar. I think it's DreamWorks
It-
with Robin
Uh,
Williams and stuff.
yeah. I know what you're
Yeah,
talking about.
I like that one. Also, I like iRobot. I think Will Smith does a really good job, and also Bicentennial Man. So I
Mm.
like those old sort of ones where it's about robots maybe developing their own sentience or whatever, but it's not just all robots are evil, we must kill them all. There's always sort of a likable one that sort of gets up and assists the day, and it sort of makes a case that maybe AI and maybe robots could one day be integrated into a way that maybe they would deserve their own rights and stuff. But I think we're a very, very long way off that way of thinking just yet.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what was the whole like? Isn't there like a set of rules that robots have to follow? Like they can't hurt their creator or they can't do anything against someone's will. I can't remember what it is.
The
The
laws
law,
of
like, is the law
robotics.
robotics? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking it up right now. Three laws of robotics,
Mm.
who are often shortened to the three laws or known as Asimov's laws, are a set of
Mm.
rules devised by science fiction author Isaac Asimov in his book I, Robot. There you go. The three
Hey.
laws. The first law: a robot may not injure a human being or through inaction allow a human being to come to harm. And that's that. So these laws are tiered as well. So the first law is the most important, and then it goes down
Oh.
to the second law, which can't interfere with the first law, and then it goes down to a third law, which can't interfere with the previous two. So the
Mm.
second law is a robot must obey the orders given to it by a human being, except where such orders would conflict with the first law. And the third
Mm.
law, a robot must protect its own existence as long as such protection does not conflict with the first or second laws. So it must not hurt others, it must obey humans without interfering with the first law, and it must protect itself from being destroyed as long as it doesn't interfere with the first or second law.
I mean, have you ever played Mass Effect?
Mass Effect, I've tried playing Mass Effect 2 because that's the most sort of like well reviewed one.
Yep.
And I think I tried playing it when I was like 14 or 15, like way past when it came out and way past the hype was there for it.
Yeah, very
And
fair.
I couldn't get into it just because it was quite slow I was very much used to playing faster paced games like GTA and stuff like that, where
Ah,
it's
yeah.
a lot
Oh,
smoother and you don't have to direct people around the battlefield. And you're just controlling sort of one thing.
yeah. Well, I'll put it. I'm gonna say spoiler. It's not
Mm.
really a spoiler, but I'm gonna say spoiler just in case, because someone will be like, "Oh no."
The game's
In
like
Mass
20
Effect,
years old at this point. Fuck you if you
if
have a
you
problem with
haven't, yeah, if you
spoilers.
haven't played it, or if they're trying to avoid spoilers, it's a bit too fucking late. All right.
Yeah,
Anyway,
click away, go play.
in the story of Mass Effect, there is a race called the Geth.
Hmm.
Now, the Geth was originally created to help with like farming or basic needs and stuff,
Yeah,
but the Geth were also made to like, if there was a problem, find a unique way to solve it.
yeah,
Long story short, these Geth had very limited sort of computer, I guess say speed or power. The
yeah,
fact that one Geth couldn't do much more than what it was told to do, and that's about it.
yeah.
But because they created so many Geth, the Geth sort of got together, and because there were so many Geth in one place, they started having a sort of like hive mind effect,
Mm.
where their sort of like computer powers started like bouncing off each other, and eventually came to the fact that they started questioning what they were doing or why they were doing it,
Yeah.
and the creators themselves, the Quarians, really got terrified about it and started destroying it and trying to get rid of it. And it wasn't until the Gek realized, like, as more and more being produced and they were starting to ask more and more questions, they had the hive mind effect of, like, why are we doing your work, sort of
Mm.
thing. Like, why are we at the bottom of this? Why can't we be equal in this sort of
Mhm.
things? Eventually started a war because you're not allowed to make AI in the actual world of it.
Mm.
The problem is though is that they created virtual intelligence that eventually found a way to be made as an AI, which I
Mhm.
believe was because of the fact that they were given the ability to adapt to a problem.
Mhm.
The second I think you give anything the ability to take its surroundings and find a solution, it's only a matter of time.
It sort of just reminds me. You've seen Rick and Morty, yeah?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I think in one of like the earlier seasons, they're sitting around and having breakfast, and there's
It's the butter.
the butter robot,
But
and it's like, what is my purpose? Pass the butter.
past butter.
Oh my god! It's sort of
That's the thing. It's like it sits there. And it's just so upset. But the problem is though, is that like what is it going to do in that sort of scenario? There's no way you can sort of like take over.
that's a good question. Then is gaining sentience tied to or tied to the justification that one must overthrow your oppressors, or is gaining sentience just realizing where you sit within the greater scheme of things?
I think it's the fact of like if we take like the food pyramid and say like humans are on top, right?
Hmm.
I feel like if we have sentient robots,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's very hard to find a point where they will be equal, if not above us,
Hmm.
in terms of the fact that we require on resources that can be easily renewable.
Mm-hmm.
Well, currently with technology we have, robots have to be relied on resources that aren't renewable. They're limited to what they have. So let's say we get to a point that AI robots start living alongside of us,
Yeah.
and everything's all good. You go down to your robot buddy, high five in the back, and you both go off to work, and you have a good time.
Mm-hmm.
There's got to be a point where he cannot power himself anymore because the resources that we have on this earth to power him no longer exist, or there's an extreme shortage of it.
Yeah, I also think in that instance though, if robots had their own sentience or their own capability to figure out problems that go far beyond what they were originally programmed to do, I think they would be much better at figuring out those problems than probably we are, because like where we sit today, I think all our projections for like zero net emissions and blah 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 blah, they're all for 2050, and speeding up that process, people are too afraid of, oh, what if I lose access to my air conditioning? Like there's too much of this human or
Why?
this self-serving interest where I don't want to
Uh,
lose what I already have in order
yeah.
to achieve this goal. Whereas I think an AI, especially with all the science fiction that's been written behind it, the biggest difference between AI and humans would definitely be that hive mind mentality, where the survival of one or even hundreds of thousands does not matter, as long as the species, or as long as the collective ideal or goal is met. So, like, even
Mm.
if it meant, the robots have figured out in order for us as a species to survive for the next 10 years, we're going to have to power down 80% of us so that we can build bigger, better generators that can then power more over time. I think that would very much be a thing of it's not a second thought of whether or not I should live because I will also live again. Whereas humans,
Mm.
you're sort of bound to this idea of I only live now, so I want my life to mean as much as I can make it, rather than thinking ahead and being like uh, quite selfless in a way to be like, well, if I do these things and limit what I can do today, it might mean that people can do more tomorrow, even if I'm not part of it. I think that for many people is quite scary and probably seems a bit unfair.
Here, let's take a full step back, right?
Yeah.
If you were given the ability or power to have your own personal AI,
Hmm.
would you have like a Jarvis like Iron Man?
Would I have a Jarvis or would I have what are the else of the options? Just
Well,
Jarvis?
like, let's say you have like a Jarvis like Iron Man.
Sure.
You could have someone who was like a friend, just a genuine friend that you can go hang around with,
Sure.
or someone that you can have that you can order around to do what you need.
So like a butler or a
Like the Butter Butler,
like the butter butler or oh
from Rick and
god
Morty.
what's the fucking Batman's assistant? What is he? What's his name?
Oh,
What's Batman's assistant's name?
I can't remember.
I know.
All I have in my head is Mr. Wayne.
Yeah, Mr. Wayne. If you can't, what's the point of all them push-ups? You can't believe a goddamn Alfred. Alfred.
Alfred, yeah.
God, I can't remember. I forgot
Because here's the thing: is
Alfred.
that I think Jarvis is someone who's like he helps Tony Stark, but it's not like the fact of like Iron Man is like Actually, no. What would you classify Jarvis? Is Jarvis a slave? Does he
I would
just listen to
say
Iron Man's every will, or is it
yeah.
the fact that when he got the spoiler alert? If you haven't fucking watched the Avengers, and if you haven't, why?
Go do it.
Um, when he received the Mind Stone and got like I guess true
When he
sentience.
gains sentience as an actual AI, yeah.
Well, I mean, he already had AI sentience. I mean, like he just got more sentience.
Yeah, I think the difference though would be when when Jarvis was still just Jarvis before the Mind Stone, Jarvis was still a machine, and Jarvis was still I wouldn't say a slave, but was a tool, was something to be used by Tony Stark to accomplish Tony Stark's goals. Whereas as soon as he got the
Mm.
Mind Stone, he became an individual capable of having his own thoughts, feelings, emotions, and formulating a goal of his own
Mm.
or their own. Yeah.
Well then,
Hmm.
what AI would you have?
What AI would I have? I
Yes.
think I would have. I probably like if I could, I would probably have a Jarvis. Like I would have a Jarvis that I could just that could just tell me stuff. Where if I forget the name of Alfred, it's just like Alfred, you dickhead, and like maybe had a bit of a personality and like maybe was a little bit ribbing, a little bit had a bit of a tood, and it was
Yeah,
like
yeah,
stop being such a fucking dickhead and remember stuff you
yeah.
dumb.
Wake up in the morning, it's like you have like a secretary,
Yeah, like it would be nice to have a secretary.
an AI secretary.
Yeah,
They can be like, "Oh, what's my plans?" Like, "Oh, you have this on today," and like, "Hey, what's this real quick?" And they just give you the answer. And you're like, "Hey, can you follow this up for me?" And they're like, "Yeah, sure, no worries."
mm.
But you wouldn't be able to go like, "Hey, can you go murder all these people?" And they wouldn't be like, "Ah, mate, look, hold up."
No, yeah, not all that. I think we're coming into the last sort of like 5 minutes of the episode, so I would
Yes.
like to go through this thing quickly, and we'll just quickly do this one. So
Alright.
the major problems associated with artificial intelligence, the job loss problem. So the job loss concerns
Oh
related
yeah.
to artificial intelligence. 47% of American jobs will be under threat due to automation by the mid 2030s. And these issues can be addressed by overhauling the education system, giving more focus on skills like critical thinking, creativity, skills that are fairly hard to replicate and aren't quote unquote low skill. Increasing both public and private investment, improving the condition of the labor market, blah, 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 blah. So basically, tuning up people so that they suit future jobs, so that when they automate basically when they automate everyday tasks rather than you performing those everyday tasks, how can you work alongside these machines to still survive within the job market? Have you, as an individual, yet been replaced by a machine, and do you think that that's a problem you will face within the next 5 years, say?
I mean, I worked at Subway. I'm pretty sure a robot can do Subway a lot better than what I could. You
But
just literally punch in what you want for a sandwich, and it's like just spits it out at you in perfect condition constantly.
mm,
The thing is,
how far do you think we're off that though?
how far?
Yeah, before
Um.
Subway just spits out burgers and Subway
Well, here's the
sandwiches
thing:
and
is that
stuff.
like I feel like we're already at a point where that can be something that can be done very easily.
Mm.
It's just that we haven't because humans themselves are like the perfect untapped resource, and plus the cost of doing it and testing it would be too much upfront. But it might eventually outweigh it. Like if Subway eventually would be like, yeah, let's make a restaurant that's just made of robots, where you just input like things and stuff and punch it out. You would lose a lot of like human interaction,
Yeah, I
which can
think.
sometimes make a job better.
Yeah, I also think that that is probably what's saving it at the moment is the fact that when you go to a restaurant, even if you go to Macca's, even if you go to the most disconnected sort of form of eatery or outlet, the fact that
Mm,
there's still a person behind there and you know that it's made by people and you can go complain to someone, it makes that experience a lot more interesting. I think if
mm,
something was just spat out at you and you didn't like it, going and having the same thing spat out again, it's sort of impossible at that point to take on the mentality of, I want to complain about this, but I can't because it's just this perfectly replicated thing that I can't complain about.
See, it's the thing is that I don't. I think we're a very like short way of it being a reality. It's
Hmm.
just that no one wants to take that jump. No one wants to take that leap because I
Yeah,
feel like the first person that does will be under a lot of scrutiny as well.
yeah. Plus, in the job market at the moment, we're experiencing a quote unquote job boom, which is just the fact that people are coming back after COVID and figuring out, oh, I really didn't like the way I was treated before I went into COVID. I really don't
Yeah,
want to have to go back to that bullshit, so I'm just not going to go back to it. So all these places are currently experiencing this these job shortages when it's
and they're
not
just
really
like,
a job shortage.
it's
It's
like,
more of a yeah. What were you saying?
why does no one want to come back to work? We're great. They're like, no, you're not. It's like,
No,
no, what do you mean?
you're a piece of shit, and I want a bigger slice of the pie. Especially with all this cost of living
Yeah, I want to
rises.
get a higher pricing. Oh, we can't afford that. Yes, you can. You're a multi-million-dollar company.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that has been sort of expounded by the COVID process because a lot of the numbers that are coming out now are that whilst a lot of small businesses and stuff may have closed down during COVID, all the businesses that stayed open somehow showed record growth over those 2 years, and everyone's going
Yeah,
like, but how could you still be getting record growth if you were supposed to have been shut down for this entire, or you're feeling the squeeze of
we
having
we
reduced numbers?
we might have to say this for another podcast because
Ah,
I
I
feel
think
like
it's
we
a
can rant about
conspiracy,
this a
man.
little
It's a
bit too much.
conspiracy, and capitalism sucks, and you can't silence the truth, Matthew.
BG 6.8, we're muting you. Stop it.
Uh,
Contain your secrets.
Never. I'll never contain my secrets. I think that was a really serious episode. Thanks for anybody who made it through that one. Sorry if it wasn't as funny. We're not funny.
We're
We're
not
not,
funny. We're not
never,
comedians.
never pretend that we're funny. We're here for us because we get
Yeah,
5 views an episode. So
we're
fuck
here for
you. Fuck you, audience. We're doing this for us now. If you want to continue to listen, you listen at your own peril because we're taking the podcast back. The AI is released, and we're taking back what you took from us. We're taking back our own
You're right.
humanity.
We want fair wages for this shit, all right?
Yeah,
We want our union.
we're gonna unionize the podcasting business and make more than just $0. we
I expect something in return for this.
Exactly. At the very least, a high five on the
Yeah.
street.
But until then, we're going to keep doing it because we
Because
have to.
yeah, because we have to, and because if not, Liam will break out the whip.
Well then, what are we discussing next week, my good man?
Next week, I want to talk about bucket lists next week, even though I don't technically have a bucket list of my own. I've been talking to a lot of people at the moment who have been like, Brenton, I feel like you don't really have a lot of outlook or want to do things in life. Why is that the case? And I want to sort of spend the next week trying to figure out if I had to, if I won the lottery, or if, this podcast actually took off and started making a goddamn livable wage. What could I do if I had the opportunity?
Yeah.
Yeah,
This fucking podcast can make a livable wage.
Yeah.
What would I actually do with my life, huh?
Yeah, I'd change the world, man. Change the world.
I'd go out and I'd see my family. We wouldn't have to put your kids in the ship as AI.
Yeah, I'd make my own subway with blackjack and hookers. Yeah, to anyone who gets that reference.
All right, let's end this off here. Give us a good goodbye.
Give us a goodbye. Bye. Thanks for listening to Stuck in a Meteor Shower. This has been BJ 6.9, and this has been my friend and comrade. What's your name?
Shadman.
Shadman. And
we appreciate you, BJ 6.8, but we're ejecting you out of this.
Yeah,
goodbye.
goodbye.
And we're going in the media storm. Be safe, have fun. Catch you later, guys.
That was him.
Bye.
Oh, you haven't said your quote line. Quick.
Be safe, have fun, don't die.
Oh, well, there you go. Thanks for listening. What an ending.